What these K9 German Shepherds did after finding a chained forest ranger will break your heart. A highly skilled squad of K9 German Shepherds was out on what was supposed to be a standard training mission, just another routine exercise, deep in the icy wilderness of the Bitter Creek Mountains. But what happened next? No one could have imagined. And it will leave you speechless. Their handler. He only looked away for a split second. Just a blink. But in that single moment, something extraordinary happened. The dogs, fueled by raw instinct and unwavering loyalty, veered off from their path, disappearing silently into the thick snow-covered woods. And that's where they saw him. Man. But not just any man. Bloodied, bruised, barely hanging on to life. Literally chained to a frozen tree like he was discarded trash. His wrists were swollen, the cold steel cutting deep into his skin. His face, pale and battered. That man was Thomas Grady, a seasoned forest ranger, a protector of the wild. Now left to die in the heart of nowhere. But instead of barking wildly or panicking like ordinary dogs, these K9s did something that would leave even the most battle-hardened officers in stunned silence. What unfolded next was nothing short of a miracle, a carefully orchestrated, emotion-packed display of intelligence, bravery, and something that can only be described as human. Because this wasn't just about survival. This was about courage, loyalty, and the kind of connection between humans and dogs that truly defies every imaginable boundary. Before we dive in further, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of these real-life stories that remind us just how powerful the bond between human and animal can be. Prince's broken heart. Now back to that snowstorm. The flurries had been falling relentlessly, burying the ground of Bitter Creek National Reserve under a heavy, blinding blanket of white. A brutal winter storm had made the area nearly impossible to navigate. Most people wouldn't dare set foot in this remote corner of Wyoming at this time of year. But for men like Ranger Thomas Grady, this was home. This was duty. At 42, Thomas had dedicated over 2 decades of his life to preserving this land, defending its wildlife, and protecting the lives of those who passed through. But on this day, Thomas wasn't out helping hikers or investigating illegal traps. No. He was fighting for his own life, chained to a tree, barely conscious. Each breath he took came out in visible, shallow puffs. His body was broken, bruises blooming across his face, blood trailing from a gash on his temple, and his uniform soaked with a chilling cocktail of melted snow and his own blood. His fingers. He couldn't even feel them anymore. His wrists were raw, skin torn from the fight. He'd been out there for 2 full days. Forgotten by the world. He remembered flashes, angry voices, faces masked by ski goggles and hate. They wanted something, access to the reserve, land for illegal logging, poaching, or worse. But Thomas had said no. And for that, they punished him, made an example of him. They left him there to freeze, to vanish. But just when all hope seemed lost, something stirred. First it was faint, like a whisper in the wind. Then, the unmistakable crunch of paws pressing into the snow. Was it real? Or just another hallucination? Thomas forced his swollen eyes open. Apes, moving low to the ground. 5 of them, shadows on the snow. His heart raced. Wolves. Every survival instinct screamed. Stay still. Don't move. Don't panic. Wait. These weren't predators. These were protectors. K9 German Shepherds, their black and tan coats speckled with snow, their eyes gleaming sharp and focused. Not strays. Not wild. Trained. Precise. Lethal but disciplined. The biggest one stepped forward first. Towering. A faint scar ran across one eye, a mark of battles past. He sniffed the air, and then locked eyes with Thomas. And what he did next? He didn't bark, didn't growl. He just sat, right there, proud, watchful, loyal. Then the others sprang into action. One sniffed the chains. Another circled the tree. Two more spread out, scanning the surroundings like elite soldiers clearing a perimeter. These dogs weren't lost. They were on a mission. Tears welled up in Thomas's eyes. From the cold, but also from something deeper, hope. With a barely audible breath he whispered, "Good boys." The alpha, the one with the scar, stepped forward, nose to the chain. Then he barked once. Just one sharp command that cut through the silence of the forest. And then it all began. One dog started digging furiously at the snow-covered chain base, uncovering a rusted padlock. Another leapt and barked skyward, sending a beacon through the trees. They knew what to do. Like they'd been trained their whole lives for this exact moment. Thomas drifted in and out of consciousness. Minutes melted into moments. But then he heard it. Voices. A step. Running. Over here. I see him. Blurry figures emerged from the woods. Uniforms, people, hands reaching out. Then a voice, firm, warm, human. We've got him. As Thomas's world faded to black, the last thing he saw was that scarred German shepherd, standing tall. Not like a dog. Like a guardian. Not curious. Not confused. Understanding. When Thomas finally awoke, the sterile scent of antiseptic filled his nose. A heart monitor beeped steadily beside him. His entire body ached. His skin, raw and sunken, could barely tolerate the warmth of the ranger station's infirmary. A nurse appeared. "You're safe now," she whispered. "You're lucky. They found you just in time." Thomas's voice cracked. "The dogs." She smiled. "They're outside. They haven't left. Especially the big one, with the scar." Tears stung again. This time. From gratitude. Later, Sheriff Dalton, a man built like the mountain itself, stepped in. His gruff voice cut through the quiet. "Grady, you've got one hell of a tale to tell." Thomas managed a nod. "How did they find me?" Dalton exhaled. "Our K9 unit was out for winter training. Got separated during a whiteout. We thought they were gone. But they came back, not to the checkpoint, straight to base. Covered in snow, barking like mad. One of our handlers, Rachel Vance, trusted them. Got on the ATV. Followed them. They led her directly to you." Thomas's heart swelled. "They saved me." But Dalton had more. He opened a folder. Inside. Map. Red markings. "You were chained to a tree in a zone no one's patrolled in over 5 years. No trails. No fire access. They knew what they were doing. They wanted you gone." Thomas clenched his jaw. Dalton stood, walked to the door and opened it. Moments later, padding in silently, came that same German shepherd. Steady. Guard. Loyal. He walked right to Thomas's bed, laid his head on the mattress and closed his eyes. "Meet Valor," Dalton said. 8 years old. Decorated military K9. Lost his handler overseas. Since then. Doesn't bond. Doesn't trust. Until now. Rachel motioned for Thomas to duck into the storage room as she pressed her back against the wall near the hall's corner. Her flashlight was off now, replaced with instinct and breath. Valor stood between them, tail low but stiff. His growl like the promise of thunder. In that moment, the trained K9 wasn't just a dog. He was a soldier, a guardian, a warning. The footsteps grew louder, closer. A silhouette emerged in the dim emergency light leaking from the window. A tall figure, dressed in black tactical gear, night vision goggles glinting like green coals. He held a silenced weapon. Rachel didn't hesitate. She swung around the corner and shouted, "Freeze!" The figure reacted fast. Too fast, and raised his weapon. But Valor was faster. With a flash of fur and fury, the shepherd launched forward. His body collided with the man mid-turn, knocking the weapon aside just as a shot fired, ricocheting off a metal locker. The intruder screamed, staggering backward as Valor sank his teeth into the attacker's arm. Thomas burst from the room with the hatchet raised, ribs screaming in protest. Rachel wrestled the weapon from the attacker's other hand and pinned him to the floor. The man groaned, blood mixing with the melting snow on his jacket. Thomas knelt, catching his breath. "You all right?" he asked Rachel. She nodded, winded but intact. "Thanks to him," she said, gesturing to Valor, who stood over the man, still baring his teeth, eyes locked in unwavering focus. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Backup was coming. Sheriff Dalton's voice crackled over the radio on the intruder's vest. "Status report. Do you have him?" Rachel ripped the device off and keyed it. "Negative. Target apprehended. Repeat, apprehended. But we're going to need a bigger cell." The man's voice suddenly cut through the static, low and gravelly. "You think this ends with me," he spat. "You have no idea what you've stepped into." Thomas stared at him, his hands still trembling but his resolve hardening. "No," he said. "But I know who stepped in for me." He turned to Valor, who now sat calmly beside him, his tail thudding gently against the floor, as if reminding them all that this was far from over. But they weren't alone anymore.